You'll never see Japan the same way after this. In the quiet frost of northern China, where the air cuts through silence like glass, there once stood a facility so secret, most of the world didn't believe it existed. Behind its tall fences and watchtowers, Japan carried out one of the darkest scientific projects in human history. To the outside world, it was known as the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department. But inside, it was called something else, Unit 731. This wasn't a prison. It wasn't a hospital. It was a laboratory built on human suffering. In the 1930s, as Japan expanded its empire, one man rose through the military ranks with a vision. His name was Shiro Ishii, a doctor obsessed with bacteriology and power. He believed that diseases could be turned into the ultimate weapon, killing silently, efficiently, and without bullets. And he convinced the Japanese Imperial Army to give him everything he needed to prove it. What they created wasn't just a research center. It was a place where humanity ended and experiments began. Thousands of civilians and prisoners were taken to the compound in Harbin, Manchuria. Men, women, even children. Some were accused spies. Others were random villagers. It didn't matter. Once they entered those gates, they became maruta, a Japanese word meaning logs. Because to the scientists, they weren't people anymore, just materials. Every day, guards in masks dragged victims down cold hallways that smelled of metal and disinfectant. They were strapped to tables under bright lamps while men in white coats took notes. Those notes became data. The data became weapons. Inside the labs, disease was crafted with precision. Plague, cholera, anthrax, typhus, the world's deadliest bacteria, grown and stored like treasures. Prisoners were injected with infected fluids to test how long it took before the body broke down. Others were exposed to chemical burns, dehydration, or frostbite. Their suffering recorded like a science experiment. There were no painkillers. No anesthesia. The scientists said it would interfere with results. If a subject survived one experiment, they were used for another until their bodies gave out. When they finally died, their organs were dissected and logged. Every number, every reaction, every death recorded neatly in Ishii's files. But not all the horror was confined to the laboratories. The soldiers of Unit 731 carried out acts that defy understanding. Women inside the compound were raped, repeatedly, often by guards. Sometimes by doctors themselves. Some were deliberately impregnated so that researchers could study disease transmission to the fetus. The mothers were later killed, their bodies opened so the scientists could examine how far the infection had spread. Pregnancy, childbirth, sterilization, all were twisted into experiments. Nothing was sacred, not even life itself. And still, Ishii pushed further. He wanted to test how effective these diseases could be in war. So, entire villages were chosen as test subjects. Ceramic bombs filled with plague-infected fleas were dropped from the air. Wells were poisoned. Food was laced with cholera. Within days, people were dying in agony. By the time the war was nearing its end, hundreds of thousands across China and neighboring regions had died from outbreaks linked to Ishii's experiments. But as Japan began to lose the war, Unit 731 faced a new problem: exposure. If the Allies discovered what they had done, there would be no mercy. So, the scientists destroyed evidence. The prisoners who were still alive were killed, executed, or used in final experiments. Buildings were set on fire, files were burned. Those who ran the facility tried to vanish into history. When Soviet forces finally reached Harbin, all they found were ashes, bones, and silence. But the truth doesn't burn that easily. Investigations after Japan's surrender uncovered fragments of what had happened. Witnesses spoke. Survivors told their stories. The Soviets even held war crime trials for some captured scientists, but the full truth would never be told. Because across the ocean, another power was listening: the United States. After Hiroshima and Nagasaki, America was determined to understand every kind of weapon, even biological ones. And when U.S. intelligence learned about Unit 731's research, they made a deal. The Japanese scientists would hand over their data in exchange for immunity. That's right, the people who dissected live prisoners, who spread plague through villages, who turned pregnancy into an experiment, were never punished. Some went on to teach at universities. Others worked in hospitals or research labs. Shiro Ishii himself lived a quiet life, dying peacefully in 1959. The victims had no graves, no justice, just whispers in the wind and unmarked soil. For decades, Japan barely spoke about Unit 731. Textbooks ignored it. Survivors were silenced. The government avoided apology. Only in recent years has the truth begun to surface, piece by piece, through testimonies, declassified files, and the remains of the compound now turned into a museum. Visitors who walk its halls today see the surgical tables, the tools, the rusted cages. They read the records written in careful handwriting, proof of horrors committed in the name of progress. The air there is heavy, not just with history, but with guilt. What makes Unit 731 so haunting isn't just what they did, it's how ordinary it looked while it happened. Men in lab coats, clipboards, hypodermic needles, clean, sterile rooms where human beings were reduced to data points. Every nation has its ghosts, but some ghosts never fade. They just wait for people brave enough to remember them. If this story reached you, if it made you think even for a second about the cost of silence, don't let it fade. Leave a comment, share it, keep their memory alive. And if you want to uncover more of the world's buried truths, the stories they don't want you to remember, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This is Forgotten Archives, reminding you that even in history's darkest corners, the truth still breathes.